Thanks for tuning in. You're listening to the Marriage Savvy Podcast. I'm your co-host, John Bautista, and today we're continuing our two-part series over neurodivergent couples and dynamics. We are bringing back Lubov, who is one of our relationship experts and coaches at the Marriage Place. Most of her work is helping couples navigate the complexities of neurodivergent relationships. And check this out, guys. Last week, if you haven't heard, we dove into how being neurodivergent affects and impacts relationships by understanding the way their partners feel connected and seen. This week, we are going to ask Lubov to come back and shed some insight on some of the most important emotions people with neurodivergence struggles face. We'll be talking about shame, rejection, and some of the misinterpreted behavior that they experience and what's really going on behind the curtain. All that is next, coming up on today's show. The Marriage Savvy Podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be used to diagnose, treat, or act as medical advice. Always seek the advice of your primary care physician, mental health professional, or qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition and/or mental illness. Can you talk about what do you normally see when somebody comes in and is experiencing shame in their relationship because of their neurodivergence?
Yeah, and I think even one better, like I'm going to talk about the neurodiverse partner, but I also want to talk about shame with the neurotypical partner because that's a real thing too. So from a neurodiverse partner, the shame stems from childhood. It's not just coming from the relationship. These people are probably the most misunderstood people in the world. And they're keenly aware of that. They're keenly aware of their difference. And they've always kind of felt like they don't really fit in. Like they try really hard, but they don't really fit in with everyone else. They're a little bit different, and they've always felt that. And because of the challenges that ADHD creates, they felt these struggles through childhood, regardless of whether they're diagnosed or undiagnosed. Like imagine like your whole life, someone being mad about something you're doing. Like, hey, Bobby, you're not doing the homework. You're waiting until last minute. You're doing this, you're doing that. All the ways that like ADHD impacts even from a kid. So that's an important thing to note because when they enter into these relationships, right, at the beginning, they feel so understood for the first time with their partner, which is like a really rare thing for them. They feel so heard and validated. They're like, oh my God, finally, someone just accepts me for who I am. And then like, again, a month, 10 months, whatever, a year, whatever that honeymoon phase ends, we're back to like criticizing, which is what they feel like is almost home. And they feel the shame around, why am I this way? Why do I keep messing up? I know better. Why does this keep happening to me? Right. And, they try so hard to be more neurotypical. They try really hard to think like a neurotypical person, to act like a neurotypical person, to have the reactions of a neurotypical, and they're just not neurotypical. And so one of the first things we do when I start coaching them and I talk to them about their brain and why they work the way they work and why they're always seeking that dopamine, they're like, oh my gosh, this whole time I felt like it was my fault. Like it's me. And because this is what society, this is what this is what they've been told their whole life. Let's talk about the neurotypical side. They feel shame in different ways. For one, they feel shame because they have expectations of their spouse and how they should be treated that are not being met. Like their needs in the relationship are not being met. They feel very alone and they feel shame that how could they be fooled by this? How could someone like this have drawn them in? They feel grief. They feel shame that, they've been in this relationship for so long and put up with this for so long. I hear that a lot. Like I put up with so much.
Wow.
And they feel a lot of shame around that. And so again, you have two people that are very much in their own worlds and have valid, reasons for being in their own worlds because they're both hurt in this relationship. And the beautiful thing is when you start to kind of depersonalize these situations, like this is not about you. this reaction has nothing to do with you. It might seem like it does, but it doesn't. That's when things really like, and especially when you can point out the neurology behind the situation for both people, not just for the neurodiverse, but for both people. That's when you really start to see that turnaround, and you are able to look at that situation of like, man, this is really hard for this person. Now, this is a really interesting phenomenon that happens in most neurodiverse relationships. So, neurodiverse people have this keen ability to hyper focus when they're interested. So, at the beginning of the relationship, when you're in that passion stage, they are freaking hyper focused on you. Like they're meeting every need. They're going above and beyond. They're the best boyfriends, girlfriends, whatever. Right. And then as soon as like the novelty of it wears off, there's a big disconnect because now it's like now we're in the mundane category and now we have to keep it fun and exciting. Otherwise, it's a drag. I don't want to participate in this. I don't want to participate in these arguments, or I'm getting even more escalated than I need to be. Again, driven by that dopamine effect. But for the neurotypical partner, that can be very disarming. Like it just can feel so bad because you're like, I don't get it. This person was like the ultimate boyfriend or girlfriend at the beginning, and now it's like, what happened? What did I do? Or a lot of times, like, this is like, I feel like I've been, I don't know, taken advantage of. Like, there's some, someone manipulated me. Like,
Yeah.
so they feel that way. And it really is that natural, process happening with all relationships, but it's even more so you feel that in the neurodivergent relationship. So I always joke with my husband, like, we're always keeping things exciting, whether it's planning a trip or like I always have to keep things exciting, and he does too. But like we have to keep our relationship fun, and most healthy relationships, especially in this neurodiverse world, you really need to do that to keep everything the way you want it to be.
Man, this is helping so much better understand some of my friends who do struggle with this. It would make sense that hyper focusing, hyper fixating on something, whenever they're done in some way, right? In some sense, whenever they figured out all that they could figure out, then they go on to the next thing. You know what? I don't know if a lot of people are aware, if they do have ADHD, that this is what happens, right?
Yeah.
And if they really like this person, don't let your neuroplasticity and your neurodivergence, lose this person that's in your life that you want to be in your life. There was something that Kim said, and I'll never forget it. She said the way that couples stay together and fall more in love is to experience new experiences together, because you're essentially seeing your partner in a different light. You're seeing them do something different. Like you're seeing somebody that you love and that you like experiencing something new, and you're doing that with them. So in a sense, there's kind of a mirror like effect right here, to where it's not the same thing, exact same thing, but it's very similar to, hey, keep your relationship fun by experiencing new things. If you guys just go home every single night and watch Netflix, if that works for you, cool. But for like a lot of couples, that kind of dulls the effect of pursuing somebody.
So, keeping your relationship as exciting is not just important for the neurodiverse partner, it's important for the neurotypical partner too, right? And to your point from earlier, it doesn't mean that you're going out on lavish dates. It doesn't mean that you're doing anything fancy or expensive. It really just means getting to know your partner in different ways by doing different experiences with them. And so, I mean, like for me, it keeps my relationship fresh. I always like to have something to look forward to, honestly, because it's like, oh wow, like yeah, you're giving yourself moments of reconnection, because we need to get back to reconnecting. And I mean, if I can just make a joke, I mean, I'm just going to speak for myself. I was a stay-at-home mom for a few years when my kids were little. Dude, I was the worst stay-at-home mom ever. Like I could not handle being a stay-at-home parent. Seriously, like I was not getting, like, I cannot manage all the tasks. Then there's a lot that, and the other thing was like, that was all I was focused on. Like, imagine being like focused, hyper focused on all the things you're really bad at. That's what it felt like for me.
Oh
And
wow.
a lot of my clients that are in, like, stuck in their relationships, that are just stuck in life, they're like at home, right? They're doing the home, they're a stay at home parent, or they work from home or whatever. And I'm like, okay, what else are you good at? Let's change so that your whole world is not about everything you're not good at, right? What are you passionate about? What are what fascinates you? And it really, like, I can't tell you, it makes a huge difference. You're more likely, like, we're the type of people, like, we are really good when we're busy. Okay, if we have too much time on our hands, we can't get anything done. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but like, if I have a whole day, I don't get anything done. But if I know I have 1 hour, dude, I am like mad. I can get everything done that I need to get done. I'm so productive. And I would say, like, most people are kind of that. Like, we need to have that fire. We need to have a deadline. Like, another thing, like, if someone's like, oh yeah, I'll get it done, no, I need like a time, a date, a block. I need something, otherwise there's no motivation to get it done, and to get it done right. So I mean, it sounds bad. It's like, I treat things like an emergency. I teach my clients to triage like an emergency room. Like, is this a heart attack situation? Is this like a little sinus infection? Can it wait? Because that triage, that classification, again, weakness, it's executive functioning. And so we kind of like listen to whatever, oh, there's a bird outside. Oh, shoot, I have to finish this work thing, right? So it's like, wait a minute. Like, this is a heart attack. Focus, Lubab, I mean, really, but that's understanding and finding humor in that, finding humor in how our brain works a little bit differently. And like, in my coaching, I help people to find systems. And let me tell you, the system that will work for your wife or your husband might not work for you. Like, it just might. Like, for me, I like text myself, and then I'll leave that unread text. And that's like, okay, I got to do this done. And then I won't forget it. So some people will be like, that's really weird. Why do you do that? That Write it down, like, have it. And I'm like, I hate the reminders. Like, every time I get a reminder, I just want to like close out of them. But when I have it on my phone, it's like, it's right there. And it works for me, right? So even understanding like your system is not going to work with everyone, but like, don't judge your partner because their system seems weird. It is what it is. Like, as long as they're effective, it is what it is, right?
Yeah. Man, that's good. And it's, the way that you're explaining it is just, it is fun and it's funny, you know?
It is.
Whenever we look at rejection, what do you see rejection look like with a neurodivergent partner?
Yeah, I mean, I think they feel it probably more so than the neurotypical part, because again, it brings up that childhood trauma of like feeling rejected their whole life by their peers, feeling rejected by their parents, not feeling like they're not good enough. Like, I get a lot of like, I'm never gonna meet your expectations. Like, I'm they just kind of give up a little bit. Like, I'm not good enough for you. I'm not good enough for this relationship or for any relationship. Just a lot of feeling like nothing they do is ever going to amount to what their partner needs or wants, because it's like they keep making it harder for them to meet that expectation. And so they eventually either get really frustrated or just stop trying altogether. So that's kind of what you see. They just feel shot down. I mean, and I'm sure, like, think about, and again, that's not the goal of the neurotypical part. They're not trying to hurt their feelings. Like, they're crying out for help. I mean, in all ways, like, they're like, what else do I need to do? Like, what else can I say? I created a system for you. I told you what I needed. Like, you're not responding. They're frustrated. And so again, that's where it really takes, going back to your previous question about perspective, and just like, hey, what's your job in this relationship? Your job in this relationship is to be your number one fan, both of you. It's not to change the other person. It's not to make them better or worse. It's to be your number one fan, and that means supporting you.
What aspects of the relationship would you see somebody feel rejected in?
I mean, household chores for sure. Any type of like task management, uh, for the neurodiverse partner. But like, I mean, there's a lot of areas. It's hard to even name all of them, to be honest. But I think um, for the neurodiverse partner, what I typically see with my clients is any type they feel rejected anytime they try to take control of, managing anything. Like it could be planning a vacation and it's not done to the right T, or any sort of task management where they're responsible, or the leader of that particular assignment, is where that rejection comes up because it's not to their partner's standards.
Yeah, man, that's a tough place to hear people that are neurodivergent be, because there's so much attached to it. There's the narrative that they've been telling themselves because of
Yeah,
the narrative that people have been telling them from childhood. You're never
right.
organized. You're always disorganized. You can't pay attention. Why don't you listen to me? Like they're constantly being told these negative things about themselves. And now you have a partner and you still might feel the same. You still might feel rejected
Yeah.
because you're not, once again, being organized or completing tasks or paying attention or listening or things like that. Man, that's just a really tough place to be.
And it hurts even more so when they find this partner, because again, they're not going to open their heart to just anyone.
Hmm.
And the thing is, relationships, like we talked at the beginning, they require so much executive functioning skills that they have weaknesses in. So this is a population, like I think if you were to take a survey of the people that reach out to the marriage place, or even any counseling, therapy, coaching place, a lot of them are neurodivergent. Like this is a very, you know underrepresented population, in that we are applying neurotypical standards to, like, if you went, for instance, let me explain that further. If you went to a therapist that didn't understand neurodivergence, and she's looking at your partner from just a neurotypical lens and saying, yeah, this person is not reliable, not, showing you through actions that he's not able to meet your needs, whatever. Like they're looking at it like he's at fault, and this is like how a neurotypical relationship, like you've been clear as day, you've communicated, and a lot of times like it's just not effective. But then when you work with someone like me that understands the neurology behind the behavior and understands like what's really going on in the scenes, that's why, like, where you start to really see change happen, because you, instead of, you know pointing the finger and saying, oh yeah, like this partner needs to change and they're unwilling, whatever. Like you're like, I'm helping you to develop empathy for both people now, and understand them through their own lens, not just your lens. Because again, if you look at a neurodiverse partner through a neurotypical lens, you're going to think they're a bad husband or a bad wife or a bad girlfriend or a bad boyfriend. Like you're going to think this person doesn't care that much, isn't into it, isn't into me. You're going to take it personally, especially with how society is now, where everything is like easily replaceable. Like, let's swipe, let's keep going. Like, this population is impacted the most by that swipe culture. And you see that not only in the dating world, but especially in the marriage world. Meaning, as soon as things start to get tough, instead of like looking and seeing what's lurking, and a lot of times there is something lurking, they're like, nope, I can do better than this. This is not how a partner should act. I'm done. I'm done. I hear that a lot.
Man, that is so interesting and a good observation, because a lot of people will think, the neurotypical partner is exactly what you're saying. Well, they're not showing up for me, and I've told them 1,000 times how I feel about this. not knowing that there's an underlining cause of what's going on, and not that people have to stay, in a relationship to where there's a difference, but at least you would be given the option of the truth of the relationship to make a decision on whether you want to continue in a relationship that has neurodivergence in it, or not. If it's not, then okay, but at least you would know what you're up against.
100%. And I would say too, once you really start to understand how neurodivergence and the neurology behind it, how it impacts the relationship, it really does feel like a weight has been lifted. Um, because it's really not personal. And I would argue to say that even if you weren't in a neurodivergent relationship, we have very little control over how our partner acts. And a lot of it stems from, how they were brought up, their childhood, their attachment, how their skills. Meaning, just because you're neurotypical doesn't mean that you have strengths in all the executive functioning skills.
That's right.
Most people don't. And I think that's also a huge reminder of this is interesting. This is a really interesting thing. If you were to take a questionnaire of your strengths and your executive skills and compare it to your wife's, your husband's, your partner's, whatever, you would be astonished to see how many of the things that you're annoyed with on a day-to-day is tied to a weakness in that executive skill. It's crazy. I just to name a few of the executive skills, I think this is very helpful.
Yeah.
These are some of the executive skills, okay? Neurology, response inhibition, working memory, emotional control, task initiation, sustained attention, planning and prioritizing, organization, time management, flexibility, metacognition, any type of goal-directed persistence, or stress tolerance. Now, there's no way you can hear that list and think, oh my God, I have strengths in all those. That's real. That is neurology, executive functioning part of your brain. If you have a weakness in these areas, you're going to struggle. And think about that. Your partner is reacting to a weakness in a skill. And this is take this out of the neurodivergent context. Put it in just a neurotypical relationship. Let's evaluate it for what it is. We don't all have strengths in these areas, and we're reacting to that. So it's back to I'm a mom. I have 3 kids. When your kid has a temper tantrum, that's a lack of skill in emotional regulation. I mean, and so it's no different for an adult. And a lot of times, the problems that we see in our relationship is lack of skills. And so again, if we're open to it, we can grow in these areas. We might not ever be perfect, but we can laugh at those imperfections and our weaknesses, but we can grow in these areas.
Yeah. So the last part is misinterpreting behavior. What do you see show up in a neurodivergent partner with misinterpreting behavior?
I mean, this is the number one thing that we try to raise awareness through, but it's again going back to lack of attention instead of it's misinterpreted as I don't, this person doesn't care, they don't prioritize relationship, they don't prioritize me, but it's really hey, there's a dog barking in the background, or I'm thinking about something. I'm really it has nothing to do with you personally. It's just my brain is somewhere else right this minute, right? So inattention is a huge misinterpretation. It does not speak to, now I can't say always, right? There's times where maybe it does speak to, but I'm just saying as a whole, it typically there's something else going on, right? And imagine again, let's imagine you had a very hard exam that you're studying for, and someone comes to you and they start talking to you about something, but you're thinking and worried about this exam. That's kind of what a neurodivergent person feels like. They really need to hone in and focus. So again, to go back to that, timing is everything. Don't just splurge something on us. Let's make sure that I'm ready to listen, you're ready to talk. Let's be productive, because then again, these arguments a lot of times stem from people bringing up pretty serious topics and we're like not ready to receive that information. So we're not going to be as attentive or attuned to what you're saying. It's like, let's plan to talk about these things at a time where it makes more sense for both of us. Another way misinterpreted, again, with the chores thing, which is a big thing with marriage, that, and again, I'm not assigning gender roles. I'm just doing what I see commonly. Female is like, God, I just feel like I have another child. He doesn't do anything. I do everything, and I work if they work. How many times have I asked? I'm not asking. Like, and again, this is another thing that I'm seeing too. Their partner is not doing it. Let's say again, didn't do the pre-planning, didn't complete the task. They're swooping in and doing it, and then growing resentful. They're sweeping in consistently and completing the task. And I put a stop to that. Like right away. I'm like, you know what? He has to learn how to clean up his own mess. If that takes him 7 days, 14 days, assign him something that you can live with it not getting done right away on your terms. But you cannot clean that up because that's what's happened their whole life, right? It's like, oh, he didn't do it. I'm going to do it for him.
Yeah. Okay. So say that again. So you just said assign them something that you're okay with not getting done on your timeline or expectation. Mm-hmm. That's genius. And then letting them do it, because at least you're setting your own expectation of, you know what, if I give this assignment to this person, I know there's a probability that it won't get done in time, and that is okay because they're trying.
Right. Now, I like the counter argument here is like, well, I can say that about everything. He's not going to get anything done, right? Like, where does that leave me? Like, I'm back to square one. And then it's like, well, okay, let's talk about that. Why are we at square one? Why are we putting like so much importance on every little like part of it is right for that partner. The neurotypical is like letting go of control. Like, I don't need to control every task. And again, what you find, there's patterns, there's common core patterns where the neurodiverse partner is attracted to someone that has a naturally higher executive functioning in those areas, planning, organizing, whatever, time management. But the learning curve for that partner is like, look, it's not going to get done on my timetable. It's not going to but I have to treat this person like an adult, not a child. So if you don't want to have a parent-child dynamic and you don't want to feel like you have a fourth kid, give them some control, whatever that is, and let them do it on their time. And don't swoop in and finish a task. If it's a task like paying a bill, whatever, like something that like has to get done, like do it yourself and take that responsibility. That's what I meant, like set level of the expectations. Like, that's okay. Conquer and divide. Like any parent knows, we got to conquer and divide. It's no different here. And, we talk about executive functioning strength. I advocate for a strengths-based relationship. Like, you're going to have things that you're really strong at. I'm going to have things I'm really strong at. We're going to take advantage of things you're strong on and take advantage of things I'm strong at. And divide and everything else we'll brainstorm on. But like, I don't think it's a level playing field. Assigning someone, like, you need to clean the house, which, by the way, dude, there's like a million things to cleaning the house. That's not a simple task. That can take days. Right? So realistic expectations, but going back to like, that's not a level playing field. Assigning someone to clean the house while you're at work, if that's like a weakness of theirs, and you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
Yeah. Pointing out that the neurotypical partner would need to do some self-reflection and say, why do I have to have this much control of my partner's behavior or of these things in life? That's a really good, helpful, reflecting question, because I think a lot of people, in order to find some sense of stability in their own mind, right, they feel like they need to control things on the outside.
Yes, it's a way to manage our anxiety.
I feel like I've learned so much in having these conversations.
Good.
Let's give it up for Liba. Liba, we appreciate the time that you took diving into some of the complexities within some of the toughest emotions that neurodivergent couples experience. You know, like one of the things that I'm taking away from these 2 episodes is that all couples, you know, before taking it personally, you know, we can take a step back and see if there's more going on for our partner, right? We hope that you've enjoyed tuning into this week's episode. You've been listening to the Marriage Savvy Podcast. I've been your co-host, John Bautista, and we will see you next time. Y'all stay savvy. Peace.